I think that if you don't study the past, then you'll change things in a way that really hurt the future. I actually get a part-time job at this museum working at one of our other locations out on the Antietam National Battlefield, which is the Pry House Field Hospital Museum. A ranger that I worked with down at Harper's Ferry, who's still one of my good friends, knew the executive director here and approached him when he knew that my time was running out with the Park Service and said, "You really need to hire this guy because he loves history and he'd probably do some really good things with the museum." The passion for me lies in actually handling the artifacts and then seeing the general public. Like, I get to go through the galleries at different points of the day and actually interact with the public. That's really my favorite right there, because I get to offer them a different point of view because they're looking at something that's in a case. I've actually handled what's in the case. I can give them more in-depth information. We have two surgeons' uniforms, one Union and one Confederate. So I can give them the full history of those uniforms, like who it belonged to, where they were on different battlefields, things of that nature. So really interacting with the public is what motivates me. I've always been a history nut. I love touring national parks and battlefields and museums, and I have been guilty upon occasion of bringing family through historic sites and coming out the other end with 20 people following me because I am giving a tour of a place and not really realizing it. A lot of what we use today came out of the American Civil War. Medically, we try to tell that story. We also try to correct a lot of the myths of Civil War medicine too. It's not really as bad as everybody thinks. It's actually a pretty state-of-the-art for the time. The reason why the average person must know this history or should know this history is because so much of what we use today came out of the Civil War, and so many times people forget about that and they want to change things without looking at the past, really. I feel that if people actually looked at the past and saw why we do things a certain way, they would kind of take that into account and better understand which direction they should go in when they try to make changes. And medically, but also, politically too. Featured in our galleries is the story of a private by the name of Peleg Bradford from Carmel, Maine. Peleg actually received an amputation. We actually have his prosthetic leg. Just recently, we had a descendant of Peleg Bradford come through the museum. It was great to see how his family member was kind of honored in that way of his story won't be forgotten. It's actually being told in an institution, and it has a great and powerful impact. And for me, that's kind of why we do it. It's because of that connection to the past.